We're going to use our PMF mat to review adding and subtracting fractions. PMF stands for problem, multiples, factors. It's just an acronym we use to remember those three pieces that we will be using while we're adding and subtracting fractions. Now at the top of our PMF mat, we also have the directions for adding and subtracting fractions. So if you have forgotten the steps, grab your PMF mat, they're right there for you. So let's look at our first problem. Our first problem is 3 2/3 plus 2 3/4. Our first step is we're going to stack the fractions vertically, so I've written them going up and down. Our second step is to find a common denominator. So I'm going to come to my multiples section and I'm going to list my multiples of my denominators. That would be 3 and 4. So 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 4 is 12. I think I might have found my common denominator. 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12. So 12 is my least common multiple, so that's going to be my new denominator. So now step 3 says write equivalent fractions with our new denominator. So 3 times 4 is 12, so whatever I do to my denominator, I do to the numerator also. So 2 times 4 is 8. Down in my bottom fraction, 4 times 3 is 12, so 3 times 3 is 9. And now I can add my fractions. 8 plus 9 is 17, and I'm going to keep my same denominator. And 3 plus 2 is 5. Now, when I'm looking at 17/12, that is an improper fraction. I don't want to leave that as an improper fraction. I want to convert it to a mixed number. So I'm going to use this open space over here in my multiples just to show some work. So I'm going to do 17 divided by 12. 12 goes into 17 one time. 1 times 12 is 12. I subtract and I get 5. And then I'm going to start at the top and I'm going to do my clock. 1 and 5/12. So 17/12 is equal to 1 and 5/12. Now I can't forget about my whole number over here, so I want to bring him over and add him to my mixed number. So my answer is 6 and 5/12. Oh, my pen's not working there. 6 and 5/12. That is my final answer. Now let's look at subtraction. This one can be a little tricky just because with subtraction we have to think about regrouping. So again, we've got our steps up at the top of the PMF mat, and let's look at those together. So first of all, we want to stack the fractions vertically. So I have 4 2/5 minus 1 3/4. My second step is we need to find a common denominator. So I'm going to come over to my multiples section and I'm going to list my multiples of my two denominators of 5 and 4. So I have 5, 10, 15, 20. I think 20 might be something that would work. So I'm going to stop there. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. There we go. So my common denominator is going to be 20. My next step says we want to write equivalent fractions with our new denominator. So 5 times 4 is 20. So whatever I do to my denominator, I do to my numerator as well. So 2 times 4 is 8. And then 4 times 5 is 20. So 3 times 5 is 15. So what my problem's asking me to do is if I have 8/20, I want to take 15/20 away. And I can't do that. If I only have 8/20, I can't take 15/20 away. So I'm going to have to come over here and I'm going to have to regroup. So let me grab a different color here. Okay, so we're going to come to our whole number and we are going to regroup. We're going to borrow 1 from my 4 and I'm going to have 3 left. And that 1 that I borrowed, I'm going to bring back over here as a whole number. So if I already have a denominator of 20, I want to make sure that's my denominator in my whole number as well. So I'm going to make my denominator 20. And then to make it a whole number, it's got to be the same number over itself. So I'm going to add that one whole that I borrowed over here back as 20 twentieths. And I'm going to put that together with what I already had, which was 8 twentieths. So I'm going to have 28 twentieths. Now, this is an improper fraction, but that's okay. I need it to be an improper fraction because now I can subtract 15 twentieths. So 28 minus 15, 8 minus 5 is 3, and 2 minus 1 is 1. So I have 13. I'm going to keep the same denominator. And then 3 minus 1 is 2. So 2 and 13 twentieths is my final answer. Now, I can check and see if I need to simplify 13 twentieths. I can come to my factors column, and I can list my factors of 13 and 20. So 13 would be 1 times 13, and that's all that goes into 13. For 20, I could do 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 3 doesn't go into 20, 4 goes into 20, 4 times 5, and that's all. So when my only common factor is a 1, that tells me that this fraction is already simplified. So 2 and 13 twentieths is my final answer.